In the speech of Lubavitcher Rebbe will continue tomorrow. This is from Likuti Sichot Alef. This is a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave. When was this? In 1956. He had been a Rebbe for the leader of Chabad for 5 years. Here it goes. There's a sentence that says in the it's in the Talmud, and Tainit is the Talmud that talks about making fasts when there's no rain, especially when there's problems on the Jewish people, so they fast. So it says over there that when ADAR comes in, you have to increase happiness. In the Mishnah over there in Tainit, it doesn't say it like this. It says like there's a preface. It says, when of the month of Av, that was the month when the first two temples were destroyed, and that other terrible tragedies happened to the Jewish people. It says when the month of Av comes in, we make less happiness. We're less happy. And then the Gemara says, just like when Av comes in, Mam'itim b'simcha, you are less happy. Also, when Adar, this month, comes in, you have to increase happiness. Zedmen, in them, we see two things. Opposite. Number one, from the Lashon Kashem, when it says just like, is mashma, this implies, this is in Yiddish, right? Is mashma, the ikar, the main thing is when Av comes in. When Av comes in, you make less happy. And then it says, that's the main thing. When Av comes in, you're less happy. And just like you're less happy in Av, as when Adar comes in, you're more happy. That makes sense. We'll see. It seems from this, the most important thing is not to be so happy. And then when you learn how to not be happy, then the same way as you're not happy in Av, then you should be happy in Adar. Dutch state befirish, that says clearly in the Mishnah, Masha Enkin, which is not the thing of when Adar comes in, you're happy. This is only says just like. From this we learn that the main thing is the month of Av, the unhappy month, that's the main thing. And the happy month we learn from that. But on the other hand, Zetmer, Bahanogea, the poil, and actual, that when Av comes in, that we are less happy, this is begrenzt, this is limited. When it says that Av comes in, you have to be less happy, this doesn't mean that you have to be unhappy in nit in alts, in everything you have to be unhappy. As Zayin and Faran and Yanim Simcha, there are things you have to be happy also in the month of Av. Right? A bar mitzvah, a brit, you could be happy. But das was Mishinichnas Adar Marbi Mesimcha. When it says when Adar comes in, you have to be happy, this is unlimited. Right? It doesn't say you have to be happy. When you go up to people and say you're not unhappy enough. You have to be really unhappy. When Av comes in, I saw you smile. That is against the Torah. You must be really miserable. No, you're not miserable. Look at me. I'm really miserable. You should be like me. I'm miserable. Someone will come up to me, say, you're miserable. You're not miserable enough. I'll show you what miserable means, right? This is what, here, I'll help you to be miserable. Pokes his finger in my eye. Now you're miserable. You're doing a tremendous mitzvah. You're miserable. That's not so. That's ridiculous. You're supposed to just be a little bit less happy in the month of Av. Little, but being happy, it's unlimited. You're supposed to be unlimited happy. So on one hand, we see that Av is the main thing, being unhappy. That's the main thing, is being unhappy. And from that, you learn Adar. On the other hand, we see that the unhappiness is very, very limited unhappiness. It's not total. You have to be totally depressed, right? And the more unhappy you are, the better. On the other hand, in the month of Adar, the more happy you are, the better. Not only that, you always have to be happy. We'll see. In Plug, this isn't the first time, it's also not understood. The Baldas, the Ganze, the whole thing of when Adar comes in, you have to be increasing happy. Kumtois, it comes out that when Av, you are less happy. Vider Lashon, like the Gemara is, Kashem. It should be the other way around. As Hein for voice is Mishinichnas Adar Marbim Besimcha mirror vider Michnas of Mametim, right? It's like if somebody says, you should be as strong as Samson. So Samson is strong. I have to try to be as happy as him, as powerful as he is. Samson. The same thing here. It says the month of Av. It has that you have to try to be as happy in Adar as you are sad in Av. The main thing is Av. Av is the main thing. Av is like Samson, right? And we have to try to be as miserable as you are in Av. That's how happy you should be in the month of Adar. But that's not so. The fact is, the month of Av, the unhappiness is very limited, and the month of Adar is unlimited. The pasha that they're clearing, the simple meaning is Val Simcha, because happiness has to be all the time. Even in the month of Av, you have to be happy. As is doch allemol der tzivoy, you have to always serve God with happiness. Therefore, it comes to marbin, the simple, when it comes to be happy, is then there's unlimited. That which you have to limit happiness, that's limited. You have to minimize happiness a little bit. Because even when you're minimizing happiness, you also have to be happy. Because that's a commandment that you always have to be happy. What does this mean? How can you do this? The inside, panemius from them, inyan, is that vim and hatkaret, like we said a lot of times, that the ultimate purpose in the world is to do what God wants. That's why we're here. To make a dwelling for God in this world, this physical world. We have to try to make the physical world holy. That God should have a dwelling here in the world. They're mentioned just like a person was voyant that lives in a dwelling, just like a person when he comes home, gefind sich and the dira, he is found in his house with all of his being. Azoy, also what we want God to be here in the world with all of his being. All of his essence should be here. In state, it says, that's how we start our prayers in the morning. It says that power and joy is in the place of God. The more you think about God, the happier you are. Dorten, there where God is happiness. So therefore, in order to make a dwelling for God in the world, so you have to be happy. And was demo, because a house is where the owner feels at home. You want God to feel at home. You have to be happy. You have to make a place that's happy. It says that God's place is happiness. Was demo, which then, if you're happy, this makes a dwelling for God. Tarmit, therefore, it's understood why you have to always be happy. Even in the time when it says, in the month of Av, when you have to minimize your happiness. Nevertheless, also you have to be happy. And therefore, just happy a little bit less. People, because as the dira, because making a dwelling for God in the world Yisborech, it has to be done constantly, in every moment. Varum, because this is Dr. Kololam, because this is the whole essence of man. I was only created just to serve my creator. That's why. Ubamela, so therefore, therefore there's an obligation. You always have to be happy. So I'll just tell one story, and we'll finish this tomorrow. We'll continue on other things, but famous story. Zusha from Anipoli and Elimelech of Lizins. They were two brothers. They were brothers. And once they were put into prison for some reason. Didn't explain why. The prison was just one big room, and there were all these other prisoners locked up together in this one room, a jail. And in the middle of the room, there was a pail, where that was the toilet. Now, the law is that if you're in a toilet, you're not allowed to say words of Torah, and you're not allowed to pray. in a toilet. You have to wait till you leave. So Zusha was very sad. He said, so his brother, Elimelech, asked him, what are you sad about? He says, what do you mean, what am I sad about? The only thing that makes me happy is when I do learn Torah and I say words of Torah and I do the commandments. And we're in a toilet where you can't say words of Torah and you can't do commandments. And that's what makes us happy. We can't be happy. So his brother said, what are you talking about? Why can't you say words of Torah? Why? Because it says in the Torah that when you're in a toilet, you're not supposed to, this is the Torah says this. So by not saying words of Torah and not doing commandments, we're doing what the Torah says. That is Torah. We should be happy. We're doing what the Torah says. He says, wow, you're right. I didn't think about that. So let's dance. So they started dancing. So the jailer hears all this noise. And meanwhile, all the Gentiles that are there, all these criminals, who knows, they're bored terribly and they see two Jews dancing. So they're clapping. The jailer comes, what's going on over here? He says, those two Jews, they're dancing. So what are they dancing for? He says, I don't know. They point to this, this pail and it makes them happy. They're dancing. So he said, oh, if the pail makes them happy, I'll take the pail out. I'll take the pail out. We'll put the pail in another room. Right? You want to go to the bathroom? You go to another room. So now they can say words of Torah. They're also happy. In other words, happiness has to be all the time. You always have to find something to be happy about. And when you are happy all the time, then you'll have more reason to be happy. And happiness is the place where God is found. Now let's do a Yom Yom. Oh. Avoda, serving God, service, striving. It's not that we have to strive that our service should be true, but truth itself, being a truthful person, being who you really are. This is an avoda. To reveal your soul, that even your fingernail should be true. It says that Moses, when he saw the attribute of truth, Moses saw and he fell on his face. What did he see? He saw truth. That's why he fell on his face. Truth is a very, very difficult thing to do, but on the other hand, that's who we are, to be who we really are. And who are we? Creations of God. Act properly and be happy. See you today, God willing, 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock today, maybe a little bit late. I don't hope not. And we'll continue learning the Megillah. Have a good day with Moshiach now.